Welcome to Dynamos Dozen, the podcast that I bring you each and every single week, where I talk about whatever may be on my mind, from pro wrestling, sports, entertainment, music, movies, muesli, fresh socks and jocks, and everything in between. Never forgetting the talcum powder. And today, never forgetting Flat Earth, because I am joined by Mr. Flat Earth himself, Mr. David Weiss. David, welcome to the show. I'm super happy to have you on. This is something that I've kind of wanted a long time ago, and thanks to a mutual buddy of ours, we'll give him a shout out, Morris from Cheap Pete Productions. He has helped make it happen today. So welcome to the show, David.
Thanks for having me, and this is going to be a fun conversation.
It most certainly is. Now, I've listened to many of your interviews of including one certain pro wrestler that you've appeared on his show many times, Mr. Chris Jericho. So shout out to Chris. That's when I first heard of you. I suppose I'm going to let you start the show today the way you want to, because obviously people always bring up different kind of conversation starters. So for you today, I'm going to let you, being the guest of honor, I'm going to let you start off where you want with this conversation.
Flat Earth? I mean, are you crazy? You talk about all this stuff and now you're talking about Flat Earth? You have to be insane is what lots of listeners may be thinking. But that's what we all thought. And it's only the ones of us that didn't just dismiss it and looked into it, because when you look into it for real, you don't just Google Flat Earth, because Flat Earth will bring you to the Flat Earth Society. You'll see pictures like this and go, this is the dumbest thing ever.
Sure.
Well, no Flat Earther thinks that. No Flat Earther thinks that. So if you're listening to this and you're about to hit that stop button, trust me, this is your red pill moment. Don't blow it. All right. So everyone knows that the earth is a spinning ball. We've known that for 2,000 years, supposedly. Aristophanes in ancient Greece figured it out. That's not true. It's all made up stories. You got to ask yourself, what do you know and how do you know it? Like, you're told the earth is a globe. How do you know it? Well, other people figured it out. That's what people think. And that's, once you look at it, you realize there's absolutely no proof of the globe, and there's actually proof that it's not a globe. What is it exactly? Not exactly sure, but it does appear to be a flat, motionless plane. The quick analogy that I like to give is the earth is 70% water. Large bodies of water lay flat, at rest, lay flat. And water needs a container. If you had a bathtub and the bathtub disappeared, well, all the water is going to go away. If you're swimming in a lake and the shoreline of the lake disappeared, all the water is going to disappear. Well, Antarctica is the shoreline of the world lake. It holds all the water in. All the water surrounds all the continents, but Antarctica surrounds the entire Earth pond. Antarctica is not a continent at the bottom of a ball. It's the shoreline around the world pond. Completely different way to look at the world, but it's the way the world is. And once you start investigating it, you'll see.
So that kind of yeah, I mean, I suppose in theory that makes a lot more sense than, say, like, the ice wall from Game of Thrones just surrounding everybody, and kind of, what happens when you fall off the edge is what many people would probably ask. You know what I mean?
But, right. Well, that's a program response that everybody asks, but there is no ice wall. We're not a disc floating in space, and there is no ice wall. There's the shoreline of Antarctica, where most of it is just a cliff, a couple 100 feet high cliff of ice to a plateau. There are areas of Antarctica that, have a shoreline, where the rocky shore at different times of the year, but most of the Antarctica is surrounded by most of the ocean is surrounded by the shoreline, which looks pretty much like this.
That lends itself to General Byrd?
Admiral Byrd.
Admiral Byrd, sorry. And
how dare you?
How dare I do apologize. You see, you're educating me, my friend. No, Admiral Byrd, yeah. I briefly saw a theory that he had supposedly flown over the wall and just saw like a whole new world or something like that. Is that?
So again, it's not the ice wall. The Game of Thrones has programmed all of us with the little guy on the wall going, I'm going to piss off the edge of the earth. Well, it's not the edge of the earth. It's the edge of our world.
Sure.
What's beyond Antarctica. everything in Antarctica is off limits. You're not allowed to explore the exterior of Antarctica, and we can get into that. But Admiral
Sure.
Byrd, in the 1940s, they started, they discovered, we started to have, airplanes and, the ability to start exploring Antarctica. And then Admiral Byrd flew out and he got on the news. Now, whether this was a controlled release, because they have to tell us, or they didn't realize what he was going to say on the news before it came out, or they decided, hey, we need to hide this information after you let it out. He was on a news show and he said that he flew out in Antarctica and there's land beyond the pole. Well, beyond the pole on a ball doesn't make a lot of sense. And it's bigger than the United States, filled with resources that no human has ever laid eyes upon. Okay. And then all of a sudden, right after that, he disappears. He dies not too long after that. And then the Antarctic Treaty goes into effect in 1959, where there was like a dozen countries back then that signed on. And now it's over 50 countries where they basically say nobody can explore Antarctica. You're not, we have to protect the penguins and the ice. Okay.
The penguins, yeah.
But go ahead, deforest the Amazon, just go do all the other crap that you do. And that treaty is still in place to today. And, you can't question it until the year 2041, where they'll kick the can down the road another 60 years.
And there's like a talk, I read something saying as well that, you're not even like Google Earth isn't even allowed to show the Antarctica in full or something. Is that right? Or?
Yeah, just Google, Antarctica from space or whatever, and they're all cartoons. There's no images of Antarctica. Now, there are some images along the shoreline, and they do sometimes compile them together and wrap them around. But in reality, Antarctica is the land that goes beyond our shoreline. So what's out there? That's a great question. Is there just ice forever? Does it end? Is there a dome? Is there maybe more land out there? If Antarctica was this ring, a couple thousand miles wide or whatever the distance is, maybe it's a little fatter than that. Out here, maybe there's more land, extra territory in the outer space. So
this is kind of
terrestrials.
something that you as a flat Earth guy aren't saying as fact. You're saying that this is only possibilities, of course.
Correct. This is a possibility. And again, no one's allowed to explore the outer lands of Antarctica, so we don't know. There's lots of stories that about people that have made it through there and gone to other lands, and there's people out there. One of the stories is that the people that are living out there in an advanced society, with technology, of beyond what we have, departed from the inner Earth in the 1600s because they didn't like the tyranny that was going on, and they left and they moved outwards away from the tyrannical, kings and queens back then. So that's a possibility. Here's a map that was found in Hawaii, a Japanese map showing, 30 or 40, whatever continents beyond Antarctica. It's in a Hawaiian newspaper.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I suppose herein lies the question for people that are listening now that have made it past the 5 minutes, but they're not going to quit on this. Trust me, there's a lot of interest in this. I've talked to a lot of people and they've been looking forward to this interview. And so herein lies the real question. Why?
Why the lie?
Why? Exactly. Like, why tell us that we're on a globe and space is a real thing and UFOs are possibly a real thing? And, that's my question too.
There's two answers. Mm-hmm. And let's go with the more land answer. So imagine you lived in a giant apartment building that had no doors and no windows. You were born there. You live there. You work on the 20th floor. You buy your groceries on the 4th floor. The gym's on the 90th floor. And there's just, I don't know, 100,000 people in there, whatever the number is. But huge building. And there's just no way out. And everything is just delivered, into your building. And that's all you know. And you're happy. You have friends, you have a job, you're doing, and that's all you know. And somebody comes, hey, there's a whole nother world out there. Oh, and by the way, in this building, you have to follow the rules. It's a whole nother world out there that doesn't have these rules by these tyrannical leaders. And then you would say to me, what difference does it make? Right? That's what people say. What difference does it make? It's not the shape of the earth that makes a difference. It's what are they hiding from us? And the other way to look at it is in the helio nonsensical globe model, they want us to believe that we're an insignificant speck that evolved from pond scum, that we're flying on a speck through an infinite space vacuum, where an asteroid could take us out at any time, where we're running out of resources, where they're afraid of terrorists and nuclear bombs and just all of this fear, where we're insignificant. Versus the truth of the matter is that we are at the center of creation, where our thoughts create our reality, where they don't want us to know that our thoughts create reality, that nobody has dominion over us, that nobody could break our free will. But we are living in a society where we bow down to these leaders that don't serve our interest.
So you've got me in agreement.
That should be enough.
Yeah, I mean, you've got me in agreement when we're talking about, I would be very much with you when we're talking about the political spectrum and how, there is a lot of sheep out there that will just go with whatever mainstream media tells them. So I'm with you on that. You know what I mean? So I can see kind of where that point really lends itself. Now we're looking at something there. So this is obviously where you're possibly talking about that we are in a dome, and I assume this is kind of like the reflection of what the sun may be or something. Am I right?
Well, that light is the sun inside of the dome, circling around, and the moon is as opposed to it's a full moon right in this animation. So the moon is opposed to the sun. I'll show you how all that works in a few moments. But on the flat Earth model, the sun is small and close, and it's circling around the Earth, and it goes away just because of perspective. And then as it drops down lower in the sky, all of the thickness of the atmosphere becomes opaque. And then the sun just goes away. It's just going away. And it looks like it sets below that opaque, I call it the atmospheric deck of opacity. I'll show you a little, I've been showing this a lot lately, but I'll show it again here. I did an experiment. I have what I call my flat Earth kitchen. Okay, so here's my kitchen counter, and this line is a level line, and I'm running a sun across this level line, right? You following me?
Yep.
Here is, you can see these are mountains, or this is just atmospheric deck of opacity, okay? And the sun never drops down below it. But I have a camera on the other side that's on the table, on the counter, looking up at the line, okay? And so that would be your terrestrial view of the sun. And here it is. It kind of looks like the sun is going down. And as it goes by this atmospheric deck or mountains, it looks like it's setting just below it. And because this is in the distance, it looks like it's at eye level to you, but it's really high in the sky. Just like when you look at clouds 20, 30 miles away, they look like they're touching the water. Okay. Sure. So now I'll show you the same thing. This is a real sunset. This looks like the horizon, but here's the atmospheric deck of opacity, and the sun is just going beyond it. So it looks like it's setting to the mind-controlled heliocentrist, but it's just going down, away, and it appears to be going down. And then its light can no longer push through, okay? Here's a shot. I filmed this with my drone, super cold, clear, zero humidity day. And I watched the sun, and the drone's in the air, and the sun was going, it took about 5 minutes for it to go down, 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 down. And if the earth was spinning, it would just keep on going. But it didn't. It went, in 5 minutes, it went down and it stopped. And it sat there. This is 10 minutes time lapse sped up. And instead of going down, it just faded away. Now, my friends were at the beach watching the sunset, and they saw the sunset from the bottom up 10 minutes earlier. Okay?
Sure.
And it just fades away. And that's because we're brainwashed into believing light travels for billions of years, and that perspective doesn't exist. It's all due to perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting point. I mean, I got to say, at least you're not just kind of saying it, you're actually showing kind of real pictures and real you're putting your theory to the test rather than just,
Right. And then there's also another thing. The atmosphere has moisture in it, and that moisture becomes a lens that magnifies things. The farther away they get, the more they're magnified, but the farther away they get, the smaller they get. So it's being magnified while it's shrinking. Kind of most days it appears to be the same size, but it actually changes quite a bit. There's plenty of times where we can see the sun move away, and it just gets smaller and smaller, depending on where you are in the conditions and the time of year and what path it's taking. But this sun is clearly not going down; it's going away. Now, I'm not talking about people say you need a solar filter to see because this is mostly glare. I'm showing you the path of the sun. It's just going away.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not
moving
going
forward.
down.
It's moving. Yeah,
It's
you know,
moving away.
I get you.
Away.
I get you.
Okay. And um, it's just going away. Now look, here is that we're going the atmospheric deck of opacity. We got some mountains here. So it's gonna be obscured, right? As it's going away, it's gonna kind of go behind this mountain. It's just going beyond it. Right? That's
Sure.
it.
Sure.
And the sun is still there. Here, here's one in Africa, and this is Paul McCartney, the fool on the hill, sees the sun going down, but the eyes in his head see the world spinning round. The Beatles knew.
Yeah, this is kind of right now. Now you've kind of got me really intrigued. You've got my juices flowing because I'm a Beatles guy.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of truth in music. What was it, Zeppelin? That comes from the land of the ice and snow, where the midnight sun and the hot springs flow. They're talking about Antarctica. I'm talking about the Arctic, actually. The Arctic. They're talking about the North. And what's going on in the North, where the hot springs flow at the North Pole, the midnight sun, the land of the ice and snow.
Yeah, that's yeah. I never really thought about that. Right.
Yeah, there's so much truth in music, and the Who, we can see for miles and miles and miles. Right? We can see too far. We can see for miles and miles and miles. They're telling us. So talking about the atmosphere and the magnification, here's a little experiment with this is a magnifying lens, and we're just dragging. Oh, why is that cut off like that? Is that cut off?
No, it's moving for me.
Well, yeah. So this right here, you can't. It's being cut off at the top.
Oh, sure, I get you.
It's just being dragged away, and the camera's looking through the lens, and this is what they see. So this would be your horizon here, and it just sets. It's still there. It just appears to being set because of the way our eyes work.
So I see what you mean. In terms of you mentioned obviously about tyrannical governments and stuff like that. I mean, we know that the world is real, as in like what we see is real. We can walk on hills, we can walk on mountains, we can swim in the sea, we can breathe what we feel is fresh air or whatnot. Like when you talk about a dome, like a lot of people always ask this question: is it like the Truman Show kind of deal, like where weather is controlled?
The True Man Show.
Oh, okay. So I've got you onto something here. Okay, let's talk about
the True Man Show. Where the lights are close and the moon is controlling things. It's the control center. Who knows? The moon. Don't ask me what the moon is, because the moon is the biggest mystery to everybody. It's not a rock falling around the earth.
We landed on the moon anyway. That's for sure. I don't believe that.
That's good. I mean, that doesn't make you a smart person, by the way.
No,
because anybody can figure that out. Here, tell me what's going on here. Okay, the sun is supposedly 93 million miles away. What's going on there?
Yeah, it kind of looks like it's in the clouds, kind of thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense for it to be 93 million miles away.
That's
pretty crazy, right?
So you're going to get people say, "Oh, well, that's obviously doctored," or "That's obviously doctored." But then,
it's not doctored. You can watch the full video. I mean, all of the stuff. I'll show you where to find all of the stuff. Because if you Google flat Earth, like top 10 reasons the Earth is flat, Google will serve you top 10 reasons the Earth is a globe. If you search, images of flat Earth, you're going to see stuff from the Flat Earth Society. And the Flat Earth Society is a government-run disinformation site that is there to make you mock flat Earth.
Well, I
it's there to make you laugh at it.
Your rebuttal, I suppose, to some people is that, right, well, if I can doctor this, why can't they doctor what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So that
Here, and the answer is, we look at everything the NASA puts out. None of it is verifiable. None of it, and most of it is just absolutely ridiculous and nonsense. You can't even model it in a computer. But the stuff that we put out, you can verify it yourself. You can go do this yourself. When I started researching flat Earth, I said, okay. I started seeing, this is when I still didn't believe it. I started seeing, hey, we can see too far. So I really looked up the curvature formula according to heliocentric globe math. And I realized, okay, there's a certain amount of curvature. If you're at the water's edge, 10 miles, there should be 66 feet of curvature at just 10 miles. I'm like, okay, even if it's only half of that, because, some people say, well, it's only half because 10 miles is, the top is only half that distance, whatever. It is 66 feet, but let's say it's 33 feet. I don't care. I bought a P900 super zoom camera, a tripod. I went down to the water and I said, there's a buoy that's 11 miles away. I rounded down 10 miles. Okay. There should be 66 feet of curvature. I sat at the water's edge. I zoomed in. I could see the entire buoy. I can see the water for dozens of miles beyond the buoy, where there should be hundreds of feet of curvature. If the Earth was a globe, a 6 foot tall person standing at the water's edge should see a physical horizon at just 3 miles away. Okay.
Yeah.
According to globe math. Right. That's insane. Here's a spot in Aluja, France. It's a famous viewing spot where you could look out, and Mount Canigou is out here, but you can't see it because it's 175 miles away. At 100 from this viewing spot, using globe math, from the height, the very top of Mount Canigou should be a mile below the physical curve. Well, if you're a heliocentrist, you believe this is the edge of a ball right here, and that everything is going below that line. So the top of Mount Canigou should be a mile below here. But on 2 days a year, when the sun lines up, when it's on its journey in between the tropics, it lines up with Mount Canigou and this viewing spot. All of a sudden, you can see it because it's being backlit. And this is the top of Mount Canigou right there. That should be a mile below the physical curve. There is no curve. It's right there. The reason you can't see it during the day or anytime is because the light coming off of it, bouncing off of it, isn't strong enough to push through. But the sun is strong enough to push through. And we're not really seeing Mount Canigou. It's being backlit. That's all. Okay. And it's there. It's not a mirage. It's not refraction. That's nonsense. It's right there. We can see too far. We can see way too far. And now with infrared photography, there's a channel called J. Tolan Media One. He has his amazing camera equipment and infrared. He can see 1,000 miles. He can see things that should be 50, 70, 100 miles below the curve, and he can see them.
Sure, I get what you're saying. Actually, in your research, because I know you've done a lot of research and you've kind of studied this meticulously. Have you ever talked to any kind of pilots or anything like that in terms of what they see? Do you think pilots would be in on this, or do you think pilots would know what's going on? Or?
So that's a pre-programmed response from Bill Nye, the Lion Guy with the bow tie, that's convinced everybody all the pilots would have to be in on it, all the scientists. Think how many people that is. Well, there's not that many scientists. How many scientists are there out there that are researching this? Most of them are just brainwashed. The ones that we see in public, they're the shills pushing the this New World Order agenda. But as far as pilots, many pilots know. The Qantas pilots say they all talk about it amongst themselves, but they can't talk about it publicly, or they lose their jobs. Right? There's plenty of pilots that do know, and others that are just follow their job. They just let the GPS, run the show, and they just take off and land, and that's all they do.
Yeah.
But there's we had on our show Globebusters, which is a weekly show that we do. We had a KLM pilot on, a female, and she was telling us all about, how she knows the Earth is flat and stationary, and proved it on long distance flights, showing us images, all sorts of stuff. And then the next day she was grounded and fired for just saying the Earth is flat.
Okay.
You can have a crazy flat earther, flying a commercial airliner.
Even though she was good at her job beforehand, right?
She was great at her job. So, and there's flights where it just goes too far. Like this is a flight that basically followed the sun, and it just kept on going, and the sun never set. The sun's right there. It's daylight right below the sun, right? This is a flat plane. This is the limit of your vision, but the sun is still there, and it just didn't set the entire time during this entire trip.
Sure. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, and then the other thing is plane routes are truly southern flights are truly amazing, amazing proofs of the fact that we don't live on a spinning globe, because none of the flights make any sense whatsoever. If I could find the one I'm looking for, I would show it to you. Um, here's an emergency landing that happened. Taiwan to LA, right? There's an emergency happened right here, some medical emergency. They had to land a plane. You'd probably land in Hawaii. Maybe you'd go to Los Angeles. But instead, the pilot went all the way up to Alaska. Doesn't that look a little crazy? Why would he go to Alaska? Well, this is the route that the plane said it was taking.
Yeah.
But if you look at it on a flat Earth, Taiwan, medical emergency,
Ah,
Alaska.
all right, right, right. Because it's
Right
it's
there.
closer. If
Hawaii
it's
is all the way
flat.
out here somewhere,
Yeah,
supposedly.
yeah.
Right. There's tons of stuff like that. If you look at from Australia, from South America, from Santiago to Australia, instead of just cutting across the bottom of the ball, they go all the way up here, all the way across, and all the way down. And if they want to go to Western Australia, they go all the way up. They go over to Europe and Dubai, and then down. Why would they take this giant route? You look at that on a flat Earth. Here it is. Go all the way up,
Straight across.
across Europe, Dubai, Western Australia. Straight line. Airplanes fly straight and level over the Earth plane. The sea is level, sea level. It's not curved. Right? There is there's a book. So NASA runs all of the GPS, all of the radar, of the world, and they're in charge of all flight routes. But occasionally, when like that emergency I showed you, there's an emergency. You can document where the plane was, where it was going, and where it landed. And this book right here, 16 Emergency Landings That Prove Flat Earth. You can find it on lulu.com. It's an awesome coffee table book, or you can just find it online, a PDF for free. And if you want to see that these 16 landings make zero sense, they're absolutely insane on a globe, but they work perfectly on a flat Earth. Every single time the plane lands, you can make up excuses. Well, it landed here because they didn't have any available hospitals in Hawaii or whatever. Nonsense. Every single one proves that the Earth is flat, stationary, and not what they tell us.
Sure, and I suppose we'll take a break in a minute, and we're going to get onto some other stuff as well that you are quite vocal about, and I do really honestly respect your beliefs. You know what I mean, and that's why I think everybody should respect someone's opinion and their beliefs, especially when you put a lot of study time into it. One question I want to ask you, and it's something that I read today because I'm trying to kind of understand, inform, like ask the questions that if someone was sitting in my position would ask you. Okay. So there's no disrespect in my questions from my side, I can assure you that. So why is certain parts of the continent say hotter, like Australia? Basically it's a barbecue, right? And if it's a controlled sun and it's going on its route every day, why is like Africa hotter than say Ireland, or what I mean?
Perfect question.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's my app. It's called the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app, right? And basically the sky is a perfect clock. I'm going to show you exactly how that works. So the sun goes around once every 24 hours, and it goes in a circle. It's the hour hand. The reason it's not pinned to the hour hand right now is because here where I am, we have daylight savings time, and they're lying to us about the time. They're telling us it's an hour later than it is, which basically I think it's a way to control us because it throws off our body clock, but whatever. Sun still does the same thing. It goes around once every 24 hours. You can see underneath at our hand, the moon seems to be right there because we're running into a new moon, and the sun will lap the moon once every 28 days. So look, you see the waxing crescent coming out, and the sun is gaining distance on the moon because it laps it once every 28 days. So that explains the moon cycles, the moon phases and position, keep track of the weeks and the months, and the sun keeps track of the days and the hours. And if I turn on, excuse me, the stars are fixed in their position. They rotate around once a day also, but they're going slightly faster than the sun. So right now, the sun is in this zodiac. Next month, this one will catch up to it. The following month, this is Cancer. Cancer will catch up to it, and the sun will be in Cancer for the month of June and July, or so in between June and July. So that's how the stars work. The stars, the fact that they've never changed, they always repeat themselves. You go out tonight, look at the stars, go out a year from now, same night, same time, the stars will be in the exact same place. That's impossible in a spinning, corkscrewing, heliocentric world.
Okay,
so how
that
does
makes sense to me. Yeah, that makes sense to me, because in Ireland you see the same, you see the same stars, and I'm sure you can probably see it in the States as well, right?
Right. We see the same stars as you just a couple hours later.
Sure.
Because they come around, right? So Ireland, where's Ireland? You're over here, right? Somewhere over here.
Yeah.
So your stars, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. About 7 hours later, I'll see those stars.
I get you.
They're rotating around.
Yeah.
Okay. So this inner yellow line is the Tropic of Cancer. The outer yellow line is the Tropic of Capricorn. Okay. And so right now, and the red line in the middle is the equator. The equator is 24,901 miles around. So the sun right now is inside of the equator, and it's on its journey into the Tropic of Cancer. So I'll move it forward to May, June, July. So in July, it's over the Tropic of Cancer. That's when the sun is its closest to us, June and July, because us in the inner north, the sun is closer to us. It's never directly above our heads because we're too far north. It's never coming that close to us. But people in Miami and California and Mexico, the sun goes right over them in June and July. It's directly over them. So when it's directly over you, it's straight up in the air. Okay? You with me?
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
And so people in Australia, it's their winter in June and July because the sun is farther away from them. But if I jump the sun forward 6 months to December, it's now out here. Southern Africa is having their summer because the sun is over their head. You're having your winter because the sun is farther away, which makes it lower in the sky. Okay? You with me?
Sure.
It's still the same height. Imagine you got 5 airplanes, 10 miles apart, flying straight and level, all at the same altitude. The middle airplane is directly over your head. Okay? The last airplane is lower in the sky to you. It's not up there. It's over there. It's lower. That's like your winter sun because it's farther away. Sure. So look, Australia, it's blazing hot in Australia in December. Why? Because the sun is directly over Australia. Okay? Yeah. Imagine 2 people laying outside in the winter. You and your buddy are laying outside in the grass, in the snow, whatever, and it's frigging cold. And somebody comes out and stands above you with a giant heat lamp. And you're like, it's nice, right? That's directly above you. It's putting heat right on you. Your buddy, 15 feet over there, he sees the light. He's like, I kind of feel the heat, but I'm still friggin' freezing over here, right? Then all I do is, as I move over and I heat up your buddy now, and your heat lamp is now lower in the sky. It's heating up your buddy over there, and you're freezing. It's exactly how it works. This is the outer southern lands summer. And 6 months later, it moves to the Tropic of Cancer, and the inner north has its summer. The whole tilting ball thing is ridiculous because if that was true, sunrise in the summer would be freezing cold, right? But it's not. It's warm. And did you know in the helio-nonsensical BS model that during our northern summer, or during our northern winter, it doesn't matter. Let's just say it this way. During our inner northern winter, the sun is 3.5 million miles closer to us than it is during our summer, right? So why during our winter, when the sun is at its highest point for the day, you can barely feel the heat on your face? It's at a much more direct angle and you can't feel the heat on your face. And it's 3.5 million miles closer than it is in the summer. And in the summer, when the sun is just peers on the horizon, you can feel the heat immediately. You can feel, wow, that sun is warm. As soon as you see the sun in the summer, it's warm. I don't know if you ever see the sun in Ireland.
Yeah, we don't.
Well,
even in summer. Even in summer.
Well, here, like when I go down to the beach, if I go down to the beach, now or in the, whatever, as soon as the sun appears on the horizon, I could feel the warmth on my face. And within in June and July, it's friggin' hot. And then in December, when the sun at noon, when the sun is at its highest point for that day, I could look at the sun and I can't feel the heat on my face. And it's 3.5 million miles closer, according to the nonsense ball model. Okay. That makes no sense. One other thing before I show you something else is this center area is called the Arctic, right? If you're standing in the Arctic and you're looking at the sun, what is the sun doing? It is arcing around you, right? Yeah. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
If I'm standing out here in the Antarctic, what's the sun doing? It's antarcing away from me.
Yeah.
It's not arcing, it's antarcing. They're telling us what they do. So this app, let me just quickly tell you about the app and then we'll jump out, is if you want to learn about flat Earth, you can Google flat Earth and you're going to learn about nothing. You're going to be mind controlled. You're going to give up because there's so much garbage, so much disinformation that you'll just give up. This app bypasses all of that. Every day there's a new featured video. Click that video and I do short ones during the week, longer ones on the weekend. And I challenge anybody. I said, if you think this is stupid, watch the video every day for 2 weeks. And at the end of that 2 weeks, if you still think the Earth is a globe, send me one proof of the globe and I'll give you a Bitcoin. All right. But before you do that, you have to click this question mark button. And when you click that, up comes all the questions you're going to ask me. What about the Coriolis effect? What about gravity? What about circumnavigation? What about seasons, which I just talked to you about? Or, what about eclipses? And if you click what about eclipses, up comes playlists of videos that Google will not serve you. All right. These are all videos that you want to know about, but you're not going to be able to find them without the app.
Okay.
I mean, maybe you can find them, but literally it's going to take you 500 hours to find 2 hours worth of good videos, where this will, in 500 hours, will give you 500 hours worth of videos. It has tons of other stuff in it, mud floods, stuff that we might be talking about a little bit. Lots of very cool information. It also has all sorts of images that you can share with people. My favorite is the moon landing. You said we didn't go to the moon. You don't believe that we took 2 men in a car to the moon in this? Yeah.
That's pretty, yeah.
This is made from paper mache, cardboard, wire ties, scotch tape.
That's a shot released by NASA, is it?
This is NASA's shot from the moon, right? See the astronaut in the distance?
Yeah.
Look at it. Look at this thing. This thing went to the moon and then took off and met with the orbiter and then went back to Earth. Are you kidding me? If any structural engineer is looking at this and you think this is real, you need to quit your job because you're not very good. Okay. So tons of information. This is what the heliocentrists want us to believe is going on, that we're in this spinning. Look at this. That's what you have to believe is happening. Not happening. So I guess it's called the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. Does a whole bunch of other things.
It's a cool app, actually. It's something I'll definitely be checking out for sure.
Yeah.
I'd like to know.
One last thing on the app. Yeah. If you, it's available on Google Play, Android 8.0 operating system or higher, or Apple iPhones and iPads, you need iPhone 6 or higher. It's $3, $2.99, whatever it is. And just read the reviews. It's the highest rated app in the App Store. For those of you on Google Play, there already is a Flat Earth Society run app by the same name, which is just gatekeeping information. Feel free to get it, but don't send me an email telling me my app sucks, because it doesn't. It's not my app. So there you go.
Yeah,
It's called the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app by Blue Water Bay. Look for this icon. And if you're looking at it on a computer, just point your phone at this QR code and you can get the app.
Yeah, I just went on my app there, and it's there. So
nice.
It's cool to look into these things, even if people don't want to believe. I mean, it's cool to kind of question yourself and question your own beliefs, right? That's why. That's how
the way I look at it is, people complain about it's $3. It should be free. You know what? You want to pay for the bills for the app, I'll make it free, but you're not going to want to pay for it because it costs thousands of dollars a month.
That's a pretty decent price, I think.
Well, think about it. It's like a half of a beer, and you don't pee it away in 20 minutes. You have it for the rest of your life.
Yeah, exactly right. I suppose my last question
go
on Flat Earth is, again, we go back to the question.
Why the lie?
How as well? You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, somebody had to create this thing, right? You know what I mean?
Wait, the Earth. So I am not religious.
Sure.
I was
me neither.
I was an atheist. We believed in evolution and everything. But once you understand what this place is and what we really are, I mean, how did our eye evolve from pond scum? Please, mutations don't make things better; they make things worse. Okay, and
COVID,
it's not
right? COVID, right?
Yeah. I mean, the COVID. COVID is a cartoon, just like the globe.
We'll get on to that. Yeah,
yeah. So be careful. This is going on on YouTube.
Yeah, no, we won't stick too much on the COVID thing. We'll talk more broadly around the.
Yeah. So, what was the point I was making?
Pond scum.
Oh yeah. So what Flat Earth makes you realize is that there's a creator. Not saying who it is, not saying where they came from, not saying how they did it, that there is a creator, period. Right? Once you see that and then realize we're at the center of creation, we're part of the creation. Then that's your journey from there, where you take that.
Sure. Yeah, no, I think that's a great way to finish the Flat Earth. I mean, for people that are, I suppose, that do want to question it, that do want to try and debunk it themselves, this is a perfect opportunity for them to do so, and go and subscribe to that app. One thing I know that you're very, very kind of outspoken about, and I suppose knowledgeable about, is this kind of whole idea of the satanic government, and this is where kind of I could probably talk a little bit about this myself, because I've done my own kind of research, and don't get me wrong, I'm certainly not a QAnon guy or anything like that. I'm not, I believe that was kind of a staged thing anyway, to kind of create disinformation, and literally it probably was full of many, many lunatics. But in terms of the satanic government, you are the first person that I heard speak about this in depth on, I believe it was on Chris Jericho's show, actually.
Yeah, myself and RV Truth.
Yeah.
RV Truth. RV is a great researcher in that, and basically he points out, all of the sign symbols and numbers run the world. The government isn't what you think it is. Mm-hmm. And they're not even the leaders, the rulers. They're the puppets of the real puppet masters, which probably live beyond Antarctica, if you ask me. But
so you're saying possibly outside of behind the
yeah, we have dignitaries, John Kerry on election day went to Antarctica. What's that about? What's he doing? Is he getting his marching orders? Who knows what's going on?
Sure.
But, and again, I'm not the expert on this, but there's so much information. There's actually a whistleblower that came out recently it's a 5-hour video. Okay. It's 5 hours. And wow. To get me to spend 5 hours on something, that's a big investment. I'm ready to watch this thing twice. Okay. This
Okay.
guy talks about how the Freemasons are the religion that runs the world and that they're Satanists. It's literally a satanic religion. And you can find this video. I forget the name of it, but if you go to stoplookthink.com, right on the homepage, it's the top video. It should be at the time of this. If it's not, it will be by the time anyone hears this.
Yeah.
So yeah, that video basically shows really what's going on. It's actually not there yet, but it will be. It will be very, very soon.
Cool. Yeah. I suppose by the time this is released, it'll probably be there, and people can go and check it out.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's crazy because, like, we have God and the devil, and obviously, for me, look at me. What am I wearing? A Pantera t-shirt. Wearing a metal t-shirt. And people always assumed when you're a kid, oh, you must be a devil worshiper if you're into that crazy metal music and whatnot.
Do you know who Jamie Jasta is?
Yes, I do, actually. Yeah, he's the singer.
Yeah, I was just on his show. It was a great interview, and he had another metal guy on who is a heliocentric space believer, and I pretty much destroyed his worldview. Check that out.
Yeah, we'll check that out. Jamie Jasta seems like a good guy. He's a singer of Hate Breed, right? I believe.
The Jasta Show. Jamie's a great guy. Yeah, he's awesome. And just check that out. And basically, there's people that have looked into flat Earth and know the Earth is flat, and there's people that think they've looked into flat Earth and haven't, and are just brainwashed. What's the saying? It's easy. What's the saying? It's there's two ways to be fooled. One is to believe what isn't true, and the other is to refuse to believe what is true.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I suppose the reason I wanted to bring up the whole satanic government thing was because obviously this whole lockdown that we've now had for like a year and a half, like we said, we're not going to get into coronavirus itself. We're just going to get into a lot of people have had a lot of time to kind of sit on the couch and watch videos, and they're going, oh my God, such and such actor is a pedophile, such and such actor is this. And it all stemmed from the QAnon stuff, and I suppose the WikiLeaks as well, with certain emails about certain politicians. Again, we're not going to mention names. We want the show to be heard and seen, so we're not going to get into that. But I suppose this is where a lot of this kind of people kind of even if they didn't believe it, there was just that little bit of element of doubt put into a lot of people's heads. And I've noticed it being in my own work, that people are kind of questioning things a little bit more. They're like, okay, maybe certain people like Barack Obama aren't the great guy that they portray themselves to be, or
his husband, Michael.
I heard about that, Big Mike.
They do stuff. There's so many politicians and actors and actresses that are not the sex that we're shown that they are, and that's basically to get us to be worshiping fake idols and the Baphomet. It's so hard to believe. You have to see it to believe it, and it's there. There's no question that Michael is a man.
Yeah, I mean, I heard, I saw that famous footage of Joan Rivers going up the steps.
Yeah,
she kind of says,
and then she died, and then she was killed.
So it does sound crazy, right? To people, to the everyday person, this kind of conversation sounds crazy. Okay, well, why would they make Michelle a man when they could just get Michelle the woman? Or why,
Yeah, it's all about worshiping false prophets. They hate God, and they want us to do everything to deny his existence and to to basically discredit the creation. They don't want you in a situation where that the earth is intelligently designed, so therefore you have no way to deny that there's a creator. They don't want people in that situation.
So what's the benefit of them? Like, why don't they just preach Satan to the world then? And like, because they are to love God, right? You know what I mean?
They are preaching it. I mean, there's satanic temples now. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff. It's coming out everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's through the music industry, and it's in movies and television shows. I mean, it's so, if you look at the stuff that they put out now. Imagine that stuff playing 20, 30 years ago. It's like that was no way. People would freak out, but they're warming us up. It's like the
I get
frog in
you.
the pot. They're just heating it up more and more. So there's so much of this that people just don't even notice it. Everyone's just become used to it. I know kids that are openly Satanists. They're like, yeah, so, and they think it's a good thing.
I guess the question I'm asking is why did they spend so much effort back in the day? Because I mean, here in Ireland, we would have been very much so a predominantly Catholic, um, God-fearing people. You know what I mean? Like my grandparents, my grandmother, who's still with us, thankfully, would be very, very. You go into a house in Ireland, an old school house in Ireland, Dave, and you've got Jesus plastered everywhere. You know what I mean? You've got guys and women with their back garden just so the question is why did they put so much effort in giving us the story of the Bible and believing in good and believing in doing the right thing if essentially they don't want us to really do that?
So this takeover happened. There was a massive worldwide reset that happened in the late 1800s, early 1900s. All of our history is a lie. In the 1920s, 1930s, everyone
Spanish
on Earth
flu,
knew the Earth was
Spanish
flat.
flu
They were
as well. Yeah,
teaching,
yeah.
they were teaching flat Earth in schools. In America in the 1920s, they were still teaching flat Earth here in public schools, not Catholic schools, not religious schools, public schools. And that's when they realized they need to start changing the story. So they started getting control of everything, getting control of the media, getting control of what's being said. And I think as as they were figuring things out, they decided to hide it from the peasants. We're the peasants, right?
Yeah, sure.
They teach us what makes us good worker slaves. There's so many jobs that are just not even important. They're just made up jobs. Like all the space industry stuff, it's just a jobs program, because if you have a slave, they have to have a job. If they have a job and they're working for money, that they take half of it back, then they're controllable. And if they're in a jail that they can't see the walls, which is the globe, because there's no walls on a globe, they don't even know they're in jail.
Sure. I see that
So
theory. Yeah, I see that
yeah,
theory.
so all of that it happened in the early 1900s, and that's when the takeover happened. And it looks like every 100 years they do the same thing. Back in 20 in 1920, we had the Spanish flu. Everybody was wearing masks. Everybody was getting injections.
Yep.
Everybody died. Okay. 1820, cholera. 1720, the plague. It looks like they love doing this every 100 years, right?
The great
So
reset, isn't it?
yeah, the great reset. And people are just, what concern. I don't know what the end plan is, but I think, the push that they're doing for everyone to get the thing in their arm
Yeah.
is so intense everywhere that I think that anyone that gets it is not going to be happy in the next few years. I think something is going to happen. The least of which is they'd all be sterilized, but maybe it's something far worse than that.
Well, I got to be honest with you. That's where we are in agreement here because I am not for forceful anything in the arm or any part of my body actually, because it's basically rape in a way, shape,
It's
or form.
it's worse than that. I mean, it's
You know,
it's the thing is they have to have a worldwide. They have to keep this as an emergency because this isn't even an authorized thing. I don't want to say the word.
yep,
And if there was no emergency, then they can't use it anymore because it's only under use for emergency use.
yep.
It has not been approved. Human trials aren't done until 2023. Human trials, right? This is being tested on us.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I don't believe it's a test. I believe they know exactly what it does. And
sure,
just go
sure.
watch Handmaid's Tale. I
Yep.
think that's a happy story compared to what's really going to happen.
Well, isn't it kind of funny that that there was a bidding war and it was like the highest bidder when essentially this special medication should have really been free to save our free world. Sure, right?
Oh my God. Yeah. And the companies that are doing it have been paid the biggest fines in the world on medical fraud. So many things. Just go look at the rap sheet on the FIS company.
Oh yeah, I know
Okay.
all about it. They have a lovely building here in Ireland actually.
Yeah.
I know all about that. So I'm with you 100% on special
Yeah.
medication. I'm not for it. I've never needed it, and I don't feel that I need it now.
Yeah.
And that's just my own
Well,
personal opinion.
they're going to make it very difficult for people that don't get it. And it's another way that they've been dividing us. They divide us by, since this great reset, they divided us by countries, by religion, race, sex, um, political parties, sports teams. Now, V'd or unV'd people, they're dividing because they know that if we get together, that we will that they have no hope, because the power of our minds together, they can't control that. They need us to create their world, and
Sure.
that's why they're controlling our minds with the television programming and everything else that they do. They keep us
I
in
like it. I
fear.
like that. Go back there. What was that? Tell I vision. I like.
Television programming,
Yeah.
the words are right there.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Because I
Yeah.
know you're big into numbers as well. We'll kind of close on. We'll close on one of people's favorite companies, and that is Disney. Because I know you're a big numbers guy as well. And I heard you say before that Disney and NASA and all are basically the same
What are
company.
the odds? Let me get out of the way here. That all of these people just before the moon landing would be together in Hollywood. You got a NASA advisor, you have an astronaut, you have Arthur C. Clarke, the science fiction novel writer who invented satellites in his novel. Then you have the world famous movie director Stanley Kubrick and the senior administrator of the Apollo project. What are
So
the odds?
So Stanley Kubrick, of course, they say that Stanley Kubrick was the director of the moon landing, and of course,
Yeah.
if there's a great documentary, I believe, about Stanley Kubrick and his hidden meanings, that he wasn't necessarily happy with what was going on, and
Right. I mean, you go watch The Shining, it's all about the moon mission.
yeah, the
Okay.
Apollo on the kids
The
jumping.
kid, and the floor is set up like the runways, and he goes into room 237 or whatever the room number was, and that's the distance to the moon. I mean, they're whether he was trying to whistle blow or he's required, I believe that they always have to tell us what they're doing. So
Yeah,
who knows? But either way, I mean, there's no doubt that this is how the Apollo missions
yeah.
happen
Jay
right here.
Dyer, for anybody who doesn't know, Jay Dyer has a great YouTube channel, and he kind of goes in depth on his last movie, right? Jay
Yeah,
Dyer.
it's funny you mentioned Jay Dyer, because today's featured video, bottom right, is Jay Dyer. We're not very happy with him right now.
Oh, oh, really?
Jay Dyer does some great work, but he will not even have this discussion about the flat earth. You can't call yourself a truth seeker and not at least, we're calling him to the table. Let's have a debate. Let's have a discussion. You show me the top 10 reasons why you think the earth is a globe, and we'll show you why you're a fool.
Is he gonna do it?
No, well, who knows? Who knows? There's two things. One, he either will do it because he wants to be truthful, right? And so maybe the reason he's avoiding it is because he thinks it's so dumb. Why should he ever look into it? I was there. I did a podcast,
So you
conspiracy
get that.
podcast.
You understand that mentality, right?
I understand that because I was there. I wouldn't look at flat earth. I banned people from our social media for even suggesting that I look into it. But then I was forced to look. So let's hope. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to say that's where he is. He just hasn't. He's so brainwashed. He hasn't even looked at it. The other place he could be is, which I don't think is the case, is he knows he's not allowed to talk about it. And because he's already sold out for his fame, and I don't know how famous he is, but maybe he's already sold out. I don't think that's the case. I think he's just hasn't looked at it yet, or when he has, as I said before, he just looked at he Googled flat earth and ended up with, by man Dan, the government shill, not Professor Dave, another shill. These guys are out there making these snarky, ridiculous straw man, gaslighting arguments, which make no sense. And then he's just like, oh, look, I can't believe flat earth because these guys are making snarky comments, So I'm hoping that's where he is. Jay, I don't know if you're listening to this, probably not, but you need to come talk to us.
Jay, if you're not listening to this, you should be listening to this because
That too.
I am your new favorite podcast host, Ian the Dynamo Kelly, and you need to watch it. Come on the show.
Everybody everyone that hears this, send this video to Jay with the timestamp right here.
Hell, I'll even host a debate. I don't mind. I'll sit in the back and it'll be absolutely fine.
Yeah.
No, I think it's been, look, David, I respect your work, whatever people's opinions are about your theories and stuff like that. I respect your work. I respect anybody that has an opinion that wants to, you know, you're certainly not, and I'm glad to show people today that you're certainly not someone that's a crackpot, as people say. You know what I mean? People try and assume that
Nobody says I'm a crackpot. Are you kidding me?
Hey, people call flat earthers crackpots all the time.
So you're calling me a crackpot?
I'm not calling you a crackpot, my friend. I think you're quite an honest, hardworking man that has an opinion, and I respect it the hell out of it.
It's more than just an opinion. I have science on our side. Flat earthers love science.
Yeah.
Globe earthers love using the word science and the word physics, because when you ask them what's their proof of the globe, they go science and physics. Like, what science and physics? And they go, all of it.
That's been very prevalent that's been very, very prevalent in 2020 and 2021. Trust the science. You know what I mean? I've heard that.
Yeah, trust what science? What? Yeah. Show me one scientific experiment that proves sphericity or rotation. All of them in history that have done by noted scientists have failed. There's cool all these scientific. What's that?
That's pretty cool in the background. What you had up there. That's
this.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is we're told that Aristophanes, in ancient Greece, proved that the Earth was a sphere because he knows that sun rays come in parallel. Okay, have you ever seen parallel sun rays?
Well, that is
right.
That is pretty.
The answer is no. You've never seen parallel sun rays. But if you look at Aristophanes' experiment, that's the one with the sticks and shadows. Are you familiar with it? I'll explain it.
Sure.
So Aristophanes said, he's in Greece, and he said on a certain day of the year, the sun comes in straight. It's directly overhead. They can see the sun reflection in the bottom of a well, which proves the sun's directly overhead. So he set up a stick. There's no shadow. He had his buddy 500 miles away set up another vertical stick, and there was a shadow at the same time. Then he did some perfectly good math, and the math showed us the sphericity of this ball. And Carl Sagan in the show Cosmos burned it into everyone's brain that this could only happen on a flat Earth. He had a flat board with two posts on it, and then he goes, the only way you can have a shadow, he had it outside, so they both had no shadow. The sun was overhead. He goes, then you bend it, and then one of them has a shadow, and the other one doesn't. Okay, perfectly good math. If the Earth was a ball, he'd be right. However, on a flat Earth with a small local sun, no shadow, same angles, same math, you can prove the sphericity of this flat plane. Okay? We don't live on a math equation. You can use math to describe anything, right? You can have two vertical things, one without a shadow, one with a shadow, with a small local light. Go outside and look at the sun. Go outside and look at the moon and see that it's right here within the Earth system.
Go
look at it.
It's food for thought. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Yeah. It is food for thought. And I do encourage people to get the app. And, why not? Like, what do you have to lose?
You can lose $3, but just go read
on the way.
Here's the other thing. I have a body of trolls with empty channels. I call them the complete globe Earth proof channels because they have nothing in them. There's zero content. And they will follow me and they will comment all throughout your comments. They will comment to every commenter saying, Dave Weiss is a shill. He's just selling, he knows the Earth is flat. He's a scammer. He's selling apps, whatever. Just go look at their channel. But what they'll never do is they'll never offer a proof. They'll say, this is stupid. You're a moron. Get out of your mother's basement. I'm like, is that your best globe proof? Right? You'll see that they have no content. They have nothing. If you believe the Earth is a globe, show me the proof. Yeah. Claim your Bitcoin, free Bitcoin, 1 Bitcoin.
I mean,
special offer today, 2 Bitcoins.
That's okay. Putting your money where your mouth is, right?
2 Bitcoins. I'm doubling it just today only. 2 Bitcoins.
Dynamos doesn't special. Two for the
Mention that
price
you
of one.
saw this on the Dynamo Dozen when you send me your glow proof and you get 2 Bitcoins.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I've never offered that on any other show. It's a special show.
There we go, my brother. Look, it's been awesome, Dave. Really, really appreciated you taking the time out today. And I suppose in closing, I always like my guests to plug whatever they have going on. So I know you. Where can people find you? Where can people watch more of your stuff?
Yeah, so the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app, that's the best way to learn about Flat Earth. But you can find me, my Facebook page, my website, my Instagram are all the Flat Earth Podcast. My podcast also, the Flat Earth Podcast. FlatEarthPodcast.com, the Flat Earth Podcast. That's all you got to remember. FlatEarthPodcast.com has the links to the app and all sorts of other resources. Check that out. And my YouTube channel by a different name, it's just the initials for Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. DITRH is my channel. DITRH, the initials for Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. So check that out and send me your glow proof. And once you realize the Earth is flat, you'll figure out why it matters.
I love it. I love it. It's been awesome. For me, Ian the Dynamo Kelly, for Mr. Flat Earther himself, David Weiss, that is all we have time for this week. You'll be on again for sure. I know it's going to happen. And until next time, we will catch you down the road.